Can the Dallas Stars extend their win streak tonight on the road in Philly? We have the latest update on Ilya Lyubushkin, some interesting notes on Tyler Seguin, and plenty more on today's episode of Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Coming to you live from a freezing George's Pond at Hirsch Coliseum in Shreveport, Louisiana. I hope everybody is staying as warm as possible. I saw there was snowfall in DFW, so be careful on your travels. I know it can get pretty tricky in the Metroplex when snow is involved. What a cold front, or whatever you want to call this, is hitting North Texas and some of the South currently. But we are here on a Thursday to break down the Philadelphia Flyers. Can the Stars make it 6 in a row? We'll play Shooting Star as well. But first, we do have updates on Dallas Stars defenseman Ilya Lyubushkin. This comes from head coach Pete DeBoer. It was relayed via our friend at DLLS, Sam Nessler. Ilya Lyubushkin is okay, which is a big, big deal for the Stars. Of course, I mentioned on yesterday's episode, possibly the Stars may have to dip down into the AHL to grab Petrovic or Bichel, depending on the severity of the injury. But Lyubushkin is fine, and he will play tonight against the Flyers. So that is positive news on that front. Brendan Smith is out tonight. Matt Dumba is in. And during practice, the pairings were Heiskanen and Lyubushkin, Lindell Lundqvist, and Harley Dumba. Harley and Dumba I don't necessarily love, but I don't necessarily love Dumba with Miro as well. And even if you put him with Lindell, I think you would have some issues there as well. So the pairings go as such: Heiskanen, Lyubushkin, Lindell Lundqvist, Harley, and Dumba, which has sort of been the go-to here recently. I think they're still trying to find pairings they really like. I love Lindell and Heiskanen. I think that's a pairing they should let marinate a bit more. But at this point, there seems to be a lot of Miro and Harley and Lindell sort of just rotating in and out, and you can just play them with anybody depending on the situation of the game. Of course, Lyubushkin and Lindell are going to eat up a large chunk of the penalty kill minutes. Miro and Harley, who played quite a bit in New York the other night, they were really on their game. At this point, too, I feel like you just need to load up 4 and 55 and let them do their thing. They're just so dangerous the way they jump up in the play, and they defend as well as any duo in the NHL. Maybe they should just live with that, and you have to live with some of the mistakes on your bottom pair, right? Whether that's going to be Dumba and Lindell, Dumba and Lundqvist, which I know they don't want to do. I think that would cause a whole load of issues. There just really isn't a perfect fit right now. If you have Bichel up, I think that's a different story. Maybe a conversation for another time, since Bichel's not here. Do we really need to dive into it on a Thursday? Probably not, but man, I would love Bichel to be up and in this lineup, because I think he makes the Stars back in much more stable and just much better all around, because Dumba and Smith can check in every so often. And I think Dumba's been okay. To be fair, he's actually played pretty well here recently. I know Smith did have some issues on one of the goals, but I wouldn't necessarily blame that all on him in New York. I would blame some of it on Lyubushkin for not being aware on the Lafreniere breakaway goal, excuse me. But positive news, Lyubushkin is good to go here for tonight. Again, Matt Dumba will be in. Brendan Smith is out. So that is your latest lineup updates ahead of tonight's game against Philadelphia. Sam Nessler also put out some really interesting notes, and I sort of wanted to compare this to Joe Pavelski in a way as well. As Sam asked Pete DeBoer about Seguin, and Pete mentioned that Seguin has been back and around the team after surgery. He said Seguin wants to be around as a big part of the leadership. DeBoer tries to have weekly conversations with Seguin about the team, and he said, quote, he's got a real good pulse on the room. I value what he thinks, end quote, which I really love to hear for a couple of reasons. With the departure of Joe Pavelski, it's a big void to fill for Dallas, not only offensively in the points he put up last season, but leadership-wise. And I feel like Tyler Seguin has sort of, through osmosis, took over that role as the emotional leader for the Dallas Stars. And of course, Jamie Benn's the captain, and he is the leader of every man in that locker room. But Tyler Seguin has adapted and had to go through adversity in his career that not a lot of players in the NHL have gone through and still been as successful, let's say, post-surgery or post having to really retool his entire game to be successful at his age. And he got off to such a fantastic start this season. And Jamie Benn certainly has some of those qualities too. Don't get me wrong, but Seguin's an integral part of the locker room. And when he's out, it is a void to fill for Dallas, leadership-wise and scoring-wise, because he was one of the consistent scorers for Dallas for the first 20 games of the year. And I think he sort of is the Joe Pavelski of this season to some degree. The players sort of rally around him, trying to win for him. And I think it shows a lot of maturity in Seguin that he wants to be around the team. And you could say, well, he should be doing that. But look, he's rehabbing and he's trying to get back on the ice as quickly as possible for his team. But he's still making effort to be involved. And I think it shows leadership, number one, and just a real good sense of Seguin's awareness of what's going on and how he can be impactful even when he's not playing. And I love to hear that he's having those conversations with head coach Pete DeBoer on what he's seeing. And I think that is a good sign for the Dallas Stars moving forward. And is it exactly Joe Pavelski? No, who of course retired. But look, Joe met with the team here a few weeks ago in Chicago. And now the Stars are on a 5-game win streak. Coincidence? I don't think so. I think Joe means that much in the locker room. And is it confirmation bias because the Stars have went on this run when he sees them in Chicago and then boom, they've won 5 in a row? Yes, to some degree it is. But I also don't underestimate the impact that has on the Stars. I really don't, because he made such a huge impact on the Wyatt Johnsons of the world. And you can't, the Stankovens, right? Like, he is someone that the young players looked up to, and he provided such leadership and just such an overall aura to the locker room in a lot of ways. Like, that's just who he is, and was such a good human and obviously a phenomenal hockey player. And I don't think it's a huge coincidence that when Joe comes and says hi, that it sort of spurs Dallas on a bit. It gives them some motivation. It settles the locker room, even if it's just for a brief moment. And maybe I'm looking way too into this, but I think it does have some merit to some degree, because we all know what Joe Pavelski was bringing on a night in and night out basis. So I think if Tyler Seguin can sort of fill into that role as the emotional leader for Dallas in whatever capacity, whether he's with the team or not, I just thought that was interesting stuff from Sam that I had to share. And I feel like it's fair to make some of those comparisons between Joe and Seguin. And of course, we hope Seguin can play, for 3 to 5 more years in his career, but it's going to be tough. It is certainly going to be tough. So I thought that was some interesting stuff that I had to share. R2 Huru. I've been saying that wrong every once in a while. I apologize. It's certainly not on purpose. Huru will be in the lineup again tonight, just in case you were wondering that as well. So that's how the Stars will line up tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers. Dumba in, Lyubushkin is okay, Brendan Smith out. Let's go ahead and preview the Philadelphia Flyers in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. I love going to live events. It can be sports, concert, theater, you name it. Game Time has it. And Game Time makes it so easy to get tickets for your favorite live events with Game Time Picks. The feature filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Last summer, I was in Boston. I wanted to go to Fenway Park, as you do. Went on Game Time, picked up a couple of tickets, and boom, I saw my seat before I bought it. Fenway can be a little funky, so I didn't want to get into any areas where I'd be blocked out by anything. I got the perfect seats. I bought it with Game Time Picks, and then boom, I was at the game and had an absolute blast. So use Game Time and Game Time Picks to filter out all the fluff. Don't have to worry about finding any of the nonsense. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Stars fans? It is game time. I do apologize for the lighting if you're watching on YouTube and if the audio quality isn't quite the same as usual, just having to deal with circumstances currently. And as I mentioned, it is freezing in here, and I have the heater right next to me blowing on me so I can warm my hands. It is something in Louisiana. And I know in Dallas currently it's snowing. We have not had snowfall here this morning in Shreveport, in case any of you were wondering. I'm sure you were not. But let's go ahead and break down the Philadelphia Flyers a little bit. John Tortorella, of course, the bench boss. The Flyers are 17-19-5. They're sixth in the Metro Division with 39 points. They are 3-6-1 in their last 10 games, and it has been a bit of a struggle for Philly this season, especially in terms of their goaltending. They miss Carter Hart, right? And Carter Hart, of course, does not deserve to be in the NHL for, I believe, the still pending case with Hockey Canada and all that good stuff. But they certainly miss the play he brings in between the pipes. They have a young netminder in Samuel Ersson, who the Stars have seen a few times in his career. He has a 9-6-2 record, .884 save percentage, and 3.02 goals against average. They've had three netminders this season in Philly. All three have a save percentage under 900 and a goals against average over 3, which of course is not going to get the job done. They have young, talented players. Of course, we get the matchup of Logan Stankoven and Michkov tonight, two of the favorites heading into the season for the Calder Trophy. Michkov is a bright young Russian that has 29 points in 39 games this season. So that is my player to watch tonight. And be on the lookout for Michkov. He's talented. He'll get a lot of the power play time as well. This season, Philly's been pretty decent at home, especially when they score first. So it's important for Dallas to get up on the Flyers tonight. When scoring first this season, Philadelphia is 12-5-5 overall, 6-1-1 at home. But look at the difference when being scored on first. Overall, 5-14-0 at home. They're 2-9-0. So it is really important tonight for Dallas to score the first goal, because Philadelphia really struggles when playing from behind, especially at home. So they're pretty drastic differences in terms of their records when Dallas or when the opponent scores first rather than when Philly does. So that is a huge little key in tonight's game for Dallas. Can they get up and can they put away this Philly team rather quickly? Last season, Dallas had some interesting games against Philly. They kind of got beat up in their one visit to Philly last season, and then it was that wonky game where the Flyers scored 3 shorthanded goals on Dallas at the American Airlines Center, and somehow Dallas still won the game. Travis Konecny is the leading scorer for Philadelphia, 45 points in 27 games already, or I should say 41 games, has 20 goals this season. And a lot of those have come at even strength. He has 11 even strength goals, but he also leads them with 8 power play goals. And their power play as a whole is even worse than Dallas. They're 14%, 14.9, which is 29th in the NHL. Their penalty kills about middle of the pack at 17%. Dallas has been so superb down a man here this season and recently especially. I think it's been a moment since Dallas has given up a power play goal. I want to say the last one may have been against New York on December 20th. I could be wrong on that. To be fair, but it has been a hot moment since Dallas has surrendered a power play goal. They're averaging 2.98 goals per game. That's 19th, and they're giving up 3.54, which is 30th in the NHL. Ersson or it's Kolosov in net for Philadelphia, not confirmed yet. 4-8-1 is Kolosov, 3.45 goals against average, 870 save percentage. Casey DeSmith, by the way, is going for Dallas. Forgot to mention that. Casey DeSmith will get the nod, which I think is a good thing. Otter did not have the best start last time they were in Philly, and it would be nice for DeSmith to play here maybe 2 of the next 3, possibly 3 of the next 4 here on the road. It's a long road trip. Give Otter a chance to rest some since Dallas is starting to turn a corner in their play. At least that game against New York, I thought was one of their more whole 60-minute performances. If they can continue to build off that and they continue to start finding the back of the net, power play scored. If you can get some run support, give DeSmith some looks. He's actually been fantastic here recently in his last few starts. So I think it's good for DeSmith to check in and give DeSmith some reps and Otter some much needed rest. You have to factor in too here in a month. Otter's going to play in the Four Nations face-off. Who knows how many games he's going to get? It's a pretty quick tournament. He may only get 1. So you can factor that in that, of course, he'll be practicing, but Otter could get 5-6 days of rest at the Four Nations face-off, depending on how that goes. Who knows with injuries and stuff? Maybe he has to come in and fill in as more of a number one role for Team USA. But right now he goes in as the backup. Mason Marchment, by the way, did have surgery, and there was some more details on that just to get you updated. I know I said he's week to week after having surgery. DeBoer confirmed Marchment's injury and surgery was nose and facial area, but not the orbital bone, which I believe, and I'm not a doctor, of course, obviously, the orbital bone's where you can really have some issues. But I think that is positive news. Not that it's all not really positive to have surgery ever, but he was able to stop in with the team before the trip, and he's still listed as week to week, and the quote was still a long way from returning from head coach Pete DeBoer. I would think maybe we're looking towards post Four Nations face-off, or maybe just a week ahead of that with the possible return of Marchment, which is okay. Get him healthy and have him ready to go for the final push. But hey, Dallas is 3rd in the Central right now. They're just a few points back of Minnesota, And this is the time to start kind of pushing, right? You can start kind of feeling the weather change, and the season is, halfway through the year now, and Dallas can start to turn on the Jets a bit. And maybe this is the launching pad that I mentioned a few days ago for their season on a 5-game win streak, looking to make it 6 tonight at the Wells Fargo Center. 6 o'clock puck drop, going to be another good test on the road. And boy, if Dallas can win the first 2 games of this 5-game road trip, have a chance to do something special here before you come back home to the American Airlines Center. So there's a little preview of the Philadelphia Flyers and some more updates on Mason Marchment, and Casey DeSmith getting the nod tonight will be his 10th start of the season. It's now time for Shooting Star to wrap up a Thursday edition of Locked On Stars. Get those picks in via the YouTube community tab. Let me know who your Shooting Star pick is for tonight. We'll do that. I'll share mine in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. You can just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you can get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. You can bet on who's going to score the first touchdown as the NFL playoffs start this weekend. Who's going to win? The over-under on points. So many ways for you to get in and on the action with FanDuel. Regular season is over. It's time to buck up and make some money while you're watching the NFL playoffs for the next few weeks. And as I mentioned, if you join today, you can get started with $200 in bonus bets after that first $5 bet, no matter if you win or lose. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Well, I have to say, you Locked On Stars listeners have been on an absolute scorcher recently. You're 4 for your last 4. Actually, make it 5 for your last 5 on your Shooting Star picks. So a big round of applause to the Locked On Stars listeners. Thank you for tuning in every single day. All you everydayers out there, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're almost at 3,500 subscribers. Channel continues to grow. Appreciate all the love and support every single day. So I need you fans to keep the streak going. 5 for your last 5. Who is your pick tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers? I have a few options. I'm feeling Rope Hintz tonight as a bit of a gut feeling. And, I'm gonna go with Rope. I thought about possibly Dutchy, but I'm gonna go with Rope. He had 1 assist the other night in New York. He's flying around. He's making things happen. I'm gonna go with the Flying Fin Rope Hintz. I haven't chose Hintz a ton this season, so I'm gonna go with Hintz. I think he can use that speed to his advantage. He'll get a couple of really nice looks, possibly some breakaways tonight. I'm going with Rope Hintz. So there you go. 24 is my Shooting Star pick tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers. Let me know yours in the comments below. And as always, appreciate you participating on voting via the YouTube community tab. A big one tonight against the Flyers. A long little East Coast / Northeast road trip. You got the Canadians coming up, Senators, Maple Leafs, and then you come back home to take on Montreal. Looking forward to this one after a thrilling 5-4 victory over New York, erasing a big comeback in overtime at Madison Square Garden. So there you go. That is my Shooting Star pick for January 9th. Man, I have to say I've really been pleased with the Stars lately. I don't know how many of you are observing it, but, I think this last few weeks has been a bit of a turning point for the Stars, and I just see a a much better effort, really, in their game. And I think you're seeing that in a player like Jamie Benn, who, of course, scored the OT winner the other night, but is just playing like Jamie Benn, right? Like physical, hard on the forecheck, in after pucks, creating turnovers, and playing alongside Duchesne and Johnson, of course, helps. That trio just looks as dangerous as ever. And Dallas seems to have two to three lines that are just rolling right now. You can really say that for all four lines. They're just sort of building off each other. They've found a bit of chemistry with the bottom six right now. Maverick Bourque, who looked phenomenal the other night against the Rangers. Like, it just seems that things are starting to come together. And maybe we just had to let it marinate for a few months, and they were going to find their rhythm. And it seems that's the case right now. It's starting to all come together here in January, and hopefully continues to get better. It's all about peaking at the right time at the end of the day. But some more consistent play from Dallas. Let's hope we see that tonight in Philadelphia, which has been sort of up and down in recent trips for the Stars. Well, there you go. Lyubushkin is in, Dumba in, Smith out, Huru in. DeSmith will get the start in between the pipes for the Stars. 6 o'clock puck drop on Victory Plus. Have a great rest of your day, Stars fans. Stay warm, stay safe. We'll be back tomorrow to break it all down and to wrap up a wonderful week here on Locked On Stars. So long, Stars fans.